Hello, welcome to I'm Not a Math Person. Today we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about the different types of numbers that exist and how they're all connected to each other, how they relate to each other. We're going to dive a little bit into the vocabulary of what they mean, and that way later on when we start diving more into the arithmetic of it, we'll understand the vocabulary when we say certain words referring to certain types of numbers. But the first numbers we're going to work on or introduce are natural numbers. Okay, so first we're going to talk about natural numbers. All of your natural numbers are going to be the numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10, all the way to 100, all the way to 1,000, and all the way to infinity. These numbers are typically symbolized with this type of in-looking symbol. Sometimes it's written like this. I prefer this way, but it's up to your choice. But these are all your natural numbers, from 1 all the way to all your positive numbers to infinity. Now, this doesn't include the numbers that are in between, like your decimals or fractions or any other forms. These are just your basic numbers. Now, we're going to create also a little box. We're going to put your ends in. That's where all your natural numbers are going to be. So then our next numbers that we're going to look at are your, let's say, your integers. Now, integers, all integers are going to be, we're going to start with your 0, 1, 2, 3, and the same, all the way to infinity. But also, we're going to go with your -1, -2, -3, and all the way to negative infinity. Now, typically the symbol for this one is like a Z looking number or symbol, which is like this. I haven't seen it written any other way, but this one seems to be the standard. Now, for this one, since this includes also your natural numbers, we're going to put a Z, this Z looking symbol out here, and we're going to create another little box saying all your integers are outside of the natural numbers, but you also have natural numbers inside of all these integers. And you can see that from here when you have all your natural numbers inside of integers, but you're not going to have any of your negative numbers inside your natural numbers. Next, we're going to talk about all rational numbers, or ratios, such as 1/1, which equals 1, or let's say 5/1 equals 5, or maybe -1/1 equals -1, -5/1 equals -5, or maybe 7/4 equals 1.75, or -7/4 equals 1/7/5. This is sometimes symboled like this Q looking symbol, or sometimes just like this. Now, all of your rational numbers are going to be able to move from a number or decimal to a ratio form or fraction form. Now, in the bigger picture of what we've gone over so far, we have our natural numbers, our integers, and now we have all of our rational numbers. Now, with our rational numbers, we can see how all of our rational numbers have these type of ratios or fractions which are negative and can be put in decimal form. And then we also have 5/1, which is a ratio, and it's a negative, so that includes all of our integers. But then we have also our positives, which are 5/1 equals 5, and that is a natural number. The next type of numbers are real numbers. Real numbers includes all the numbers that we've talked about so far, but also includes irrational numbers. A type of irrational number is the famous pi, which is 3.141592653 and onward to infinity. It doesn't end. It just keeps going on. Sometimes you'll see this written as 22/7, but that's not accurate. This is an irrational number, which means you can't technically put this in a ratio form, which this is as a fraction, but that's not accurate. There's no accurate way to write this down, so we put this as the symbol of pi. Another irrational is 2, square root of 2, which is 1.14142 and onward. Now these are typically symbolized by this R-looking symbol. Now there is another type of number called a complex number, but symbolized like this kind of. Now we won't really go into complex numbers because those are way later on. We won't really need this right away. But just a quick example of complex numbers, or sometimes called imaginary numbers, are something. So if we have a 2 square, that's going to equal 4, because you're pretty much saying 2 times 2 equals 4. That's what this means. Now, if we have the square root of 4, which is the square root of 4, is going to be 2. So now, if we come to the problem of the square root of a -4, well, we have a problem here. Because if we take negative square, the square a -2, we're going to come up with 4. Because this negative times a negative is always going to equal a positive. So how do we find the square root of a negative number? Well, you can't come up with a positive. You can't come up with a negative number if you square a negative times a negative. So the solution to this is making it an imaginary number, written like with an I and a 2, or 2I. Now, again, we're not going to really deal with these numbers right away. We're going to talk about complex numbers way later on. But so in our early episodes, we're only going to talk about natural numbers. But to give you more of an insight of how this all looks in the bigger picture, if you remember our box that we had natural numbers, then we had all integers, then we had all rational numbers. Now we have all real numbers, which is a bigger box. And then, of course, outside of this bigger box, we're going to have complex numbers. But again, we're not going to talk about that right now. So those are all the types of numbers we're going to be dealing with right now. So these are all the numbers that we've gone over so far. We have your natural numbers, you have your all integers, you have all of your irrational numbers, and all your real numbers. And another way, I wrote it in circles this time, closer to like a Venn diagram, where your natural numbers, all integers, all of your rational numbers and all your real numbers. Okay, so that is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you a little bit more insight on the vocabulary of numbers, and specifically what is a rational number or what is an irrational number, or negative numbers and positive numbers as far as all integers and all natural numbers. For the time being, we're only going to work with natural numbers. Later on, we will work with all integers, and then to rational numbers, and then all real numbers. But we're only going to focus on natural numbers right now, just to keep it simple, so we can focus on basic arithmetic and what addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication actually mean. But I hope this was insightful for you. I hope it helped you feel a little bit better, and maybe it did alleviate some of that math anxiety. So now now you have a little bit more vocabulary on numbers, and hopefully it helped make you feel like you are a math person. So until the next time, thank you for watching. I am not a math person.